Welcome, welcome, welcome to this channel, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Today we do part 30 and thankfully just 12 parts, and then this spiritual man in-depth study is done. Alright, part 30 is called the life of faith. Alright, the book of scriptures discloses for us the normal path of a shall life by faith. The life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of the Most High. And we walk by faith, not by sight. Romans 1 verse 17, Galatians 2 verse 20, 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7. By faith are we so to live. But while this principle may be quickly grasped in the mind, it is not so readily experienced in life because it's not experienced spiritually. Because many believers are stuck in the mind. In the mind, people is controlled by the flesh. As long as your outer shell is not broken, you are still living from the flesh and not in the origin, which means spirit, soul, body. Now it's body, soul, spirit. The body became the head and the spirit became the tail. And I see this in many believers. They are living a solical life because the body is dictating their soul, and their soul is trying to dictate their spirit. But while this principle may be quickly grasped in the mind, it is not so readily experienced in life. The walk of a believer in such passages as the righteous. The life of faith is not only totally different from, but also diametrically opposite to a life of feeling. He who lives by sensation can follow the Most High's will or seek the things above purely at the time of excitement. Should his blissful feeling cease, every activity terminates. Not so with one who walks by faith. Faith is anchored in the one whom he believes, rather than in the one who exercised the believing. That is himself, so the human himself. Faith looks not at what happens to him, but at him who he believes. Though he may completely change, yet the one in whom he trusts never does, and so he can proceed without letting up. Faith establishes its relationship with the Most High. It regards not its feeling because it is concerned with the Most High. Faith follows the one believed, while feeling turns on how one feels. What faith thus beholds is the Most High, whereas what feeling beholds is one's self. The Most High does not change. He is the same every day, and He's the same always, in either the cloudy day or the sunny day. Hence, he who lives by faith is as unchanging as the Most High is. he expresses this same kind of life through darkness and through light. But one who dwells by feeling must pursue an up and down existence, because his feeling is ever changing. What the Most High expects of his children is that they will not make enjoyment the purpose of their lives. Well, this is going on with many believers still. They are still stuck in creating enjoyment on a daily basis because in some way, shape or form they still feel empty inside. So they are focused on the main purpose of enjoyment. The Most High wants them to walk by believing him. As they run the spiritual race, they are to carry on whether they feel comfortable or whether they feel painful. They never alter their attitude towards the Most High according to their sensations. However dry, tasteless, or dark it may be, they continue to advance, trusting the Most High and advancing as long as they know this is the Most High's will. Frequently, their feeling appears to rebel against this continuation. They grow exceedingly sorrowful, melancholic, despondent, as though their emotion were pleading with them to hold every spiritual activity. They nonetheless go on as usual, entirely ignoring their adverse feeling, for they realize work must be done. This is the pathway of faith, one which pays no heed to one's emotion but exclusively to the purpose of the Most High. If something is believed to be the Most High's mind, then no matter how uninterested one's feeling is, he must proceed to execute it. One who walks by sensation undertakes merely what he feels interested in. The one, however, who walks by faith obeys the complete will of the Most High and cares not at all about his own interest or indifference. The life of feeling draws people away from abiding in the Most High to finding satisfaction in joy, while the life of faith draws believers into being satisfied with the Most High by faith. They, having possessed the Most High, their joyful feelings do not add to their joy, nor do their painful sensations render them woeful. A life of emotion induces the saint to exist for himself, but a life of faith enables him to exist for the Most High and cedes no ground to his self-life. When self is entertained and pleased, it is not a life of faith, but simply a life of feeling. So, when self is entertained and pleased, it is not a life of faith, but simply a life of feeling. Acquisite feeling does indeed please the self. If one walks according to sensation, it indicates he has not yet committed his natural life at the stake. So that is of great importance. We need to nail our natural humanness at the stake. We need to say this to the Father, that we want to have our natural life completely nailed at the stake. Because then the power of the stake can work through it. If one walks according to sensation, it indicates he has not yet committed his natural life to the stake. He still reserves some place for self, wishing to make it happy, while simultaneously continuing to treat the spiritual path, or to tread the spiritual path. The believer experience from start to finish is a journey of faith. Through it we come into possession of a new life, and through it we walk by this new life. Faith is the life principle of a believer. This is of course acknowledged by all saints, but strangely enough, many seem to overlook this in their experience, because many are still letting themselves being ruled by the flesh. They forget that to live and to move by emotion or happy sensations is to do so by sight and not by faith. What is the life of faith? It is one lived contrary to a life of feeling, because it disregards feeling altogether. If believers desire to live by this principle, they should not alter their demeanor or bitterly cry as though bereft of their spiritual life whenever they feel cold, dry, empty, or pained. We live by faith and not by joy. The deeper work of the stake. When we forsake physical happiness and mundane pleasures, we are apt to conclude that the stake has finished its perfect work in us. We do not perceive that in the Most High's work of annulling the old creation. In us, there remains a deeper stake awaiting us. The Most High wishes us to die to His joy, that we need to die. So the Most High wishes us to die to His joy and live to His will. Even if we feel joyous because of the Most High and His nearness, the Most High's aim, nevertheless, is not for us to enjoy His joy, but to obey His will. The stake must continue to operate till His will alone is left. If we rejoice in the bliss of the Most High dispenses, but renounce the suffering He also dispenses. He also dispenses, then we have yet to experience the deeper circumcision by the stake. So this means that the circumcision that we have done goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's not just a one-time thing that you have done, it is continually going on until the work is finished in us. Great is the contrast between the will of the Most High and the joy of the Most High. The first is ever present, for we can behold the Most High's mind in his providential arrangement. But the second is not always present, since it is experienced only in certain circumstances and at certain times. When a believer seeks the joy of the Most High, he takes simply the part of his purpose which makes him happy. He does not desire the entire will of the Most High. He chooses to obey the Most High's aim when the Most High makes him happy. But if he should cause him to suffer, he at once revolts against his will. But the person who receives his will as his life will obey regardless how the Most High makes him feel. His will as his life will obey regardless how the Most High makes him feel. That is a deep one to grasp. He can discern divine arrangement in both joy and suffering. During the initial stage of a believer's experience, the Most High allows him to delight in his joy. After he has advanced somewhat in his spiritual walk, the Most High withdraws his joy, since this is profitable for the believer. The Most High appreciates the fact that should the believer seek and enjoy this kind of bliss too long, he shall not be able to live by every word which proceeds from his mouth. Instead, he shall live wholly by that word which makes him glad. Thus he abides in the comfort of the Most High, but not in the Most High who gives comfort. For this reason, the Most High must remove these pleasurable sensations so that his child may live exclusively by him. We know that the Master Yeshua at the commencement of our spiritual walk normally comforts us during those times we suffer on his behalf. He causes the believer to sense his presence, see his smiling face, feel his love, and experience his care in order to prevent him from fainting. When the believer apprehends the mind of the Master and follows it, he usually gives him great pleasure, although he has paid some price for following the Master. Yet the joy he obtains far surpasses what he has lost, and hence in suffering and happiness in heeding his mind, the child of the Father Most High naturally looks for such comfort and joy the next time he suffers or obeys the Master's will, or else expects to be helped immediately by his comfort and joy. Hence he suffers or does the Master's will not purely for his sake, but for the sake of being rewarded with consolation and happiness as well. Without these crutches, he is powerless to continue. The will of the Master becomes inferior to the joy which he bestows at the moment of obedience. The Most High realizes his child is most eager to suffer if he is comforted, and is delighted to follow his will if he is accorded to joy. But the Most High now wishes to learn what motivates him, whether he suffers exclusively for the Master's sake or for the sake of being consoled, whether he heeds the Most High's mind because it should be heeded, or because he derives some joy by so heeding. For this reason, after a believer has made some progress spiritually, the Most High commences to withdraw the consolation and delight which he gave him in the hour of suffering and obedience. Now the believer must suffer without any ministration of comfort from the Most High. He suffers externally while feeling bitter inwardly. He is to do the will of the Most High without the least thing to stimulate his interest. Indeed, everything is dry and uninteresting. By this process, the Most High will learn precisely why the believer suffers on his behalf and obeys his will. The Most High is asking him, are you disposed to endure without being compensated by my comfort? Are you ready to endure just for me? Are you amenable to perform labor which does not interest you a bit? Can you do it just because it is my purpose? Will you be able to undertake for me when you feel depressed, insipid, and parched? Can you do it simply because it is my work? Are you able to accept joyfully physical suffering without any compensation of refreshment? Can you accept it because it is given by me? This is a practical stake by which the Master reveals to us whether we are living for him by faith or living for ourselves by feeling. Frequently have we heard people say, I live for Mashiach. What does this really convey? Many saints assume that if they labor for the Master or love the Master, they are living for Mashiach. Well, they are only bringing themselves in an illusion. This is far from being exactly so. To live for the Master means to live for his will, for his interest, and for his kingdom, and not for your own sake, because you are not here for yourself. You never were. As a matter of fact, you are just a mere vessel doing nothing other than the Most High's will and fulfilling his will, his needs, his desires. That's it. That's why you're here. That's why you have been created. As such, there is nothing for self, not to the slightest provision for self-comfort, self-joy, self-glory, and whatsoever that has to do with self. To follow the mind of the Most High because of comfort or joy is strictly forbidden. To recoil from, to cease or delay in obedience because of feeling depressed, vapid, or despondent is positively impermissible. We ought to know that physical suffering alone may not be regarded as enduring for the Master. For often our bodies will be bearing pain while our hearts are full of joy. If we actually suffer for him, then not only do our bodies suffer, but our hearts feel pained as well. Though there is not the least joyfulness, we yet press on. Let us understand that to live for the Master is to reserve nothing for self, but to deliver it willingly to death. He who is able to accept everything gladly from the Master, including darkness, dryness, flatness, and completely disregard self, is he who lives for him. So and that is why there's just a small group of people who's doing this, because the majority wants to stay stuck in worldliness. The majority of believers are stuck in the world, in worldliness, and most of them are incorrectly immersed also. They have done a baptization instead of immersion. They are not immersed in the correct names. So that is also one of the reasons why they are still doing what they're doing and eating uncleanness, living unclean, and so on. So, should we walk by emotion, we can perform the Most High's desire only as we have a happy feeling. But should we live by faith, we can obey the Master in all regards. How often we do realize a certain matter is in fact the Master's will, yet we have not the least interest in it, and so we feel parched when we try to perform it. We have no registration that the Master is pleased, nor do we experience his blessing or strengthening. Rather do we feel as if we are passing through the valley of the shadow of death, for the enemy is contesting our way. And alas, without mentioning the innumerable believers who today do not follow the will of the Most High, there are those few following it who more or less only follow that part which interests them. They obey the mind of the Most High solely when it suits their emotion and desire. Unless we advance by faith, we shall flee to Tarshish. See Jonah, chapter 1, verse 3, chapter 4, verse 2. We should inquire once again as to what the life of faith is. It is one lived by believing the Most High under any circumstances. If he slay me, says Job, if he slay me, says Job, yet would I trust in him. That is faith, because I once believed, loved, and trusted the Most High. I shall believe, love, and trust him wherever he may put me, and however my heart and body may suffer. Nowadays the people of the Most High expect to feel peaceful even in the time of physical pain, but this peace is completely a false sense of peaceness and peacefulness. Who is there who dares to renounce this consolation of heart for the sake of believing? In the Most High, who is there who can accept the Most High's will joyfully and continuously commit himself to him, even though he feels that the Most High hates him and desires to slay him? That is the highest life. Of course, the Most High would never treat us like that. Nevertheless, in the walk of the most advanced believers, they seem to experience something of this apparent desertion by the Most High. We would be able to remain unmoved in our faith in the Most High if we felt thus. Observe what John Bunyan, author of Pilgrim's Progress, proclaimed when men sought to hang him. If the Most High does not intervene, I shall leap into eternity with blind faith. Come heaven, come hell, there was a hero of faith in the hour of despair. Can we too say, O Most High, though you desert me, yet will I believe you. Emotion begins to doubt when it senses blackness, whereas faith holds on to the Most High even in the face of death. How few have arrived at such a level? Well, I can say since the death of Mashiach, I think that it's just a handful of people who have reached this level. How our flesh resists such a walk with the Most High alone. The natural disinclination for stake bearing has impeded. Yeah, that's because of the fact that most people are still into the world and still want to enjoy vacation and going out and have their dinners outside home, going to the cinema, sports games, and whatsoever nonsense. So, how our flesh resists such a walk with the Most High alone. The natural disinclination for the stake bearing has impeded many in their spiritual progress. They tend to reserve a little pleasure for their own enjoyment. To lose everything in the Master, even self-pleasure, is too thoroughgoing a death, too heavy a cross of a stake. They can be fully consecrated to the Master. They can be suffering untold pain for Him. They can even pay a price for following the will of the Most High, but they cannot forsake that obviously trifling feeling of self-pleasure. Many cherish this momentary comfort. Their spiritual life rests on this tiny twinge of feeling, where they to exercise the courage to sacrifice themselves to the Most High's fiery furnace. Showing no pity or love for self, they would make great strides on their spiritual pathway, but too many of the Most High's people remain subservient to their natural life, trusting what is seen and felt for safety and security. They have neither the courage nor the faith to exploit the unseen, the unfelt, the untrodden. They have already drawn a circle around themselves. Their joy or sorrow hinges upon a little gain here or a little loss there. They accept nothing loftier. Thus are they circumscribed by their own petty self. Where the believer is to recognize that the Most High wishes him to live by faith, he would not murmur against the Most High so frequently, nor would he conceive these thoughts of discontent. How swiftly would his natural life be cut away by the stake if he could accept the Most High given parched feeling and could esteem experiences, would deal with his soul life most practically, enabling him to live truly in the Spirit. How sad that many succeed at nothing greater in their life than the pursuit of a little feeling of joy. The faithful, however, are brought by the Most High into genuine spiritual life. How the Most High so how heavenly is their walk, better said. When they examine retrospectively what they have experienced, they readily acknowledge that the ordering of the Master is perfect, for only because of those experiences did they renounce their soul life. Today's crying need is for believers to hand themselves over completely to the Most High and ignore their feeling. This should not at all be misconstrued to signify however, that henceforth we shall become joyless persons. Joy will only be experienced in the Holy Spirit and no longer in the naturalness. Is the greatest blessing in the kingdom of the Most High. So Romans 14 verse 17. The fruit of the Holy Spirit, moreover, is joy. Galatians 5 verse 22. If this is so, then how can we reconcile this apparent inconsistency? Simply come to see that though we do lose joy in our feeling, nevertheless the joy we gain issues from a pure faith and cannot be destroyed. Joy of this caliber runs far deeper than emotion. In becoming spiritual, we abandon the old desire for self-pleasure and hence additionally the former search for bliss. But the peace and joy of the Spirit which arises from faith remains forever. And with this said, I have come to the end of the first part of part 30. After the break I will continue with the second part, and probably it will be 3-part. Alright, thank you for listening so far, and see you soon. Alright, we go further with part 2 of this in-depth study series, part 30, which is called The Life of Faith. And we go further and proceed with after the Spirit. To walk after the Spirit, a believer must deny every scintilla of his life of feeling. You need to deny every scintilla of your life of feeling. He must move by faith and eliminate crutches of wonderful sensation. To which the flesh naturally clings. When he is following the Spirit, he neither fears if he receives no help from feeling, nor if feeling opposes him. But when his faith is weak and he follows not the Spirit, he then will heed the support of the visible, the sensible and the touchable. Emotion replaces intuition in guidance whenever spiritual life grows weak. He who abides in feeling will come to see that having long sought pleasurable sensations, he shall soon seek as well the help of the world. So this is actually a lesson for all of us, that we indeed start stopping to seek help from others, actually, in a sense, and have the help coming from our Father, the Most High, and not run to a fellow brother or sister for every little thing, but only when the Most High guides you to a certain person, then you know it is because the Most High has guided you to that person. But there are so many people who go to fellow brothers or sisters for every nitty bitty, and that is not what we need to do. We need to learn to have faith in the fact that our Father can heal us, can do everything. He who abides in feeling will come see and to see that having long sought pleasurable sensations, he shall soon seek as well the help of the world, because feeling rests nowhere safe in the world. An emotional believer often employs his own way and seeks men's help. To follow the leading of the Spirit requires faith, for it usually is contrary to feeling. Without faith, no one can actually march forward. A soulish person ceases to serve the Most High the moment he becomes depressed. On the other hand, one who lives by faith does not delay in serving the Master until he becomes joyful. He simply goes forward while beseeching the Most High to increase the strength of his spirit, that he may overcome any depressed feeling which may descend. The life of the will. The life of faith can be called the life of the will, since faith is impervious to how one feels, but chooses through volition to obey the mind of the Most High. The believer may not feel like obeying the Most High, even so he wills to obey him. We find two opposite kinds of believers. One depends on emotion, the other relies on the renewed will. A believer who trusts in feeling can obey the Most High solely while he is deriving stimulus from his feeling, that is, excitable feeling. The one, however, who depends on volition determines that he shall serve the Most High amid whatever circumstances or feeling. His will reflects his real opinion, whereas his feeling is only activated by outside stimulus. From the Most High's viewpoint, not much value accrues in doing his will out of a pleasurable sensation. To do so is merely to be persuaded by the joy of the Most High, and not by a wholehearted aspiration to do his will. Except he neither feels a bit of joy, nor is stimulated by some wonderful feeling, and yet decides to do the Most High's will. Can the believer's obedience be counted truly valuable? Because it flows from his honest heart and expresses his respect for the Most High and disregard of self. The distinction between the spiritual and the soulish believer lies precisely there. The soulish primarily considers himself, and therefore only obeys the Most High when he feels his desire is satisfied. The spiritual has a will fully cooperating with the Most High, and hence accepts his arrangement without wavering, even though he has no outside helper or stimulus. Of what we have to boast if we obey the Most High merely while we experience joy in our body? Or how can we brag if we enjoy the cheer of the Most High while suffering. Precious is it in the Most High's sight if we determine to obey His mind and suffer for Him even when the comfort, love, help, presence and joy of the Master are absent. A great number of believers are unconscious of the fact that to walk by the Spirit is to walk by the will which is joined to the Most High. A will which is not so joined is untrustworthy and inconsistent. It requires a will that is entirely yielded to the Most High, His will, to always choose what the Spirit desires. In the early stage of their life as a believer, they experience, they heard how other saints enjoyed unutterable bliss during obedience or suffering. They ardently admired such a life, so they too offered themselves exclusively to the Master with the hope of possessing this higher life. But then you are striving to do it yourself, which is of course not in the meaning to do so. In truth, following their consecration, they did experience time and again the Master's intimacy and love, which prompted them to conclude that their hope had been realized. But far too soon did these wonderful experiences become past history, because they are unaware that the expression of true spiritual life issues not from feeling but from the will. Many suffer endless pains. Actually, people, the conclusion so far after 30 chapters done is our life is very based on suffering. Having pains, denying feeling, denying emotions from the flesh, denying our soul life, and denying the will of the flesh. That is what it is. That's what it's all about. So, true spiritual life issues not from feeling but from the will. Many suffer endless pains, for these believe they have lost their spiritual life when no happy sensation is felt. Such ones at a time of low feeling need to ascertain whether their original heart of sensation is felt. Such ones at a time of low feeling need to ascertain whether their original heart of consecration has been changed, or whether they still harbor the desire to do the Most High's will. Are they yet disposed to suffer for Him? Is there any change in the readiness to do anything or go anywhere for the Most High? If these have not been altered, then their spiritual life has not receded. But if these have changed, their life in the Spirit has indeed receded. Just as one's retrogression is not due to any loss of joy, but to the weakening of his will in obedience to the Most High, so his progress is not because he possesses many delightful feelings now, which he previously did, but because of a deeper union of his will with the Most High. It is this which renders him more inclined to follow the Most High's will, more amenable to his desires. The touchstone of genuine spiritual life is how much one's volition is united with the Most High's good or bad sensation. Happy or sad feeling does not in the slightest serve as an indicator. If one is willing, however dry he may feel, to be faithful to the Most High even to death, his spiritual course becomes the noblest. Spirituality is measured by our volition because it unfolds our undisguised condition. When our choices and decisions are yielded to the Most High, we may safely say we have yielded to the Most High and no longer act as our own sovereign. Because that is interesting. We do not act on behalf of our sovereignty. And many people think there's a whole movement going on at the moment over earth. That is the movement of sovereignty. People who claim to be sovereign. But if you know that you are just mere a vessel with a name attached to it, and who's only created to serve the Most High's will, to fulfill His will, His desires, His needs, because we do not have needs of our own. That's an illusion. That's a trap. And this whole sovereignty, claiming sovereignty as a human, that's a trap. That's an illusion. You as a human have no sovereignty. Flesh doesn't know sovereignty. Flesh has no sovereignty. That's a lie. That's an utter lie. Self stands in opposition to spiritual life. With self broken down, that life grows up. So with the self completely broken down, so that is what you need to aim for, complete breakdown of yourself. That is what you have to go through, so that life grows up. Should self remain strong, that life will suffer. Yeah? So the more you hold on to your natural strength, your natural humanness, your solical life, and thus to yourself, you will experience still suffering and pain and deprivation and all sorts of conditions. We accordingly can judge one's spirituality by looking into his will. Feeling, on the contrary, is distinctly different, for even if we possess the most glorious sensations, we are nonetheless full of self, being self-gratified and self-pleased. And this is exactly what you need to let go of and place in the trash bin. Or better said, throw it in the all-consuming fire of the Most High. Let not those who sincerely strive after spiritual growth be deceived into thinking that feeling is their life principle, because this shall entice them to be mindful always of tingling sensation. Just be certain that the will is utterly offered to the Most High. Joy or no joy is not to be consideration. It's not about that. It's not about if we are joyous, if we are happy. It's all of it's not about that. We are here to please the Most High, not ourselves. The Most High wants us to live by faith. Should He wish us to live by faith and be satisfied solely with His will, bereft of consolation or ecstatic delight for long duration, would we be inclined to so live? We should delight in our having obeyed the mind of the Most High, not in being accorded to some joy or pleasure, but to be in obedience, true obedience to the Most High Himself. So the Most High, our Father's will alone should be sufficient to make us joyful. So the joy we then experience is the joy of the Father and not from our flesh. That's the whole difference. So the duty of man. Okay. While a believer is governed by feeling, he invariably will neglect his duty towards others. This is because he makes himself the center and is consequently unfit to care for the needs of others. For a believer to fulfill his duty, it requires faith and will. Responsibility ignores feeling. Our duty towards men is defined, and our responsibility in the mundane affairs of life is certain. These cannot be altered according to one's changing emotion. Duty must be performed according to principle. During the period that a believer knows the truth merely in his feeling, he certainly cannot fulfill his duty. He is so taken up with the joy from fellowshipping with the Master that is all he pursues. Wow, he is so taken up with the joy from the fellowship with the Master that is all he pursues. His greatest temptation is to want to do nothing but be alone with the Master and bask in this joy. He does not like the work in which he formerly was engaged because it holds out no other prospect than many trials and troubles. When face to face with the Master, he senses intense holiness and victory. But when he emerges to perform his daily tasks, he finds himself as defeated and defiled as before. What he wants is to escape his duties, the hopes that by lingering lengthily before the Master he can remain holy and victorious the longer. He views these matters of duty as earthy and unworthy of occupying the attention of so pure and triumphant a person as he, since he cares so much about finding time and place to commune with the Most High, and hates so deeply those works which are his duties. He naturally neglects the need and welfare of those around him. Parents and servants who think like this do not respectively take good care of their children, nor serve their masters faithfully, because they judge these duties as worldly, therefore a negligible worth. So therefore of negligible worth. They believe they must seek something more spiritual. The reason for this unbalanced approach is the believer's failure to walk by faith. He continues to look for self-support He has not yet been united fully with the Most High. Hence he needs special time and special place to commune with the Most High. He has not learned to discern the Master in all matters and to cooperate accordingly with him. He does not know how to be united with the Master in the daily details of living. His experience of the Most High is but of his feeling and in his feeling. And so he loves to erect a tent on the mountain and dwell there permanently with the Master, but hates to descend to the plain to cast the demon away. The loftiest believer experiences is never contradictory to the duties of one's pathway. In reading the letters to the Romans, Colossians and Ephesians, we can plainly see how perfectly a believer must perform his duty as a man. His highest life does not necessitate special hour and situation in order to be manifested. It can be thoroughly expressed at any time or place. To the Master, there is no dichotomy between household work and preaching or praying. The life of believer can be exhibited through all sorts of activity. As a consequence to living an emotional life, we become dissatisfied with our present position and are loath to perform the duties connected with that position. We revolt because in those duties we do not find the pleasure we seek. But our life is not for pleasure. But our life is not for pleasure. We are not here to entertain ourselves and have pleasurable lives and joyful lives and whatsoever just for the sake of ourselves. Again, we are here merely for the Most High and for no one else. To serve him, to fulfill his will, and to fulfill his duties, his desires, his needs. We were never created to experience self. We were never created to experience a life of self. The messengers in the Shamayim were not created to experience a life of self. They all are in service of the Most High. They all are fulfilling his will, his desires, his needs. Day in, day out. Better said, moment in, moment out. Each and every moment of their existence. Why do we therefore look for it again? The path of feeling bids us neglect our duty. The path of faith calls us not to forsake our duty to friends or foes. If we are united with the Most High in every detail of living, we shall know what our tasks and how we should properly fulfill them. Well, it depends with the things of such a thing as friends. That depends on whom your friends are. And if you are walking this path, you will become more lonely. Because you are walking a path as a set apart one, and most of your friends will disappear. So, and the Father will see who comes on your path that is truly in alignment with his will, desires and needs, and whom he finds suitable for you to be a friend for. We are not choosing our friends. Actually, that is the Most High who is doing that. As well as If you truly are in the Most High, He also makes sure that you get the partner on your path of which He knows that that person needs to be your partner for life. All right. In the work of the Most High, to deny the life of emotion and live by faith completely is one of the basic requirements for serving the Most High. Wow! To deny the life of emotion and live by faith completely is one of the basic requirements for serving the Most High. An emotional believer is useless in the hand of the Most High. He who walks by feeling knows how to enjoy pleasure, but not know how to work for the Most High. He has not yet attained the status of a worker, since he lives for himself and not for the Most High. Living for the Master is the prerequisite to working for Him. A believer must realize the way of faith before he can be a useful instrument to the Most High and actually perform His work. Otherwise, his aim in life is pleasure. He works for the sake of feeling for that reason. He will stop working. His heart is brimming with self-love. If he is placed by the Master in a field of labor filled with physical and emotional suffering, he begins to pity himself and finally gives up. But even as the work of the Master Yeshua was that of the stake, exactly so is the work of a believer to be. What pleasure is there in such work? Except believers utterly commit their emotion and their heart of self-love to death. The Most High can hardly find any real workers, especially these days. The days of Paul and YAHUAH'S and all those disciples, there are not many in the body of believers that can do such a work. Many are only doing it for the pleasure of themselves, but they're not suffering in such a way as the disciples has suffered, let alone what Yeshua had to bear. Today the Master needs men to be His followers who shall trail Him to the end. Too many saints labor for the Master when the task is prosperous, is suited to their interest, and this is also due to the satanic way of what working for the Most High means. Because Satan has, through religion, learned us only to do work for the Most High that gives us joy and pleasure, and is suited to their interest, or does not imperil their labor for the Master when the task is prosperous. Wait a minute, I was disturbed by this stupid fly. And I know that it is a monitor one, because all of a sudden when I started to speak about Shaitan, it was and said that we are trained and conditioned only to the conditions of religion. Then this stupid fly came in. So today the Master needs men to be his followers who shall trail him to the end. Too many saints labor for the Master when the task is prosperous, is suited to their interest, or does not imperil their feeling. But how quickly they retreat should the stake come upon them and require them to die and give them no help except to lay hold of the Most High by faith. We know that if a work is veritably accomplished by the Most High, there cannot be results. Yet supposing one has been commissioned by the Master and has labored for 8 or 10 years without achieving any results, can he continue to labor faithfully simply because the Most High has commanded it? How many saints are there who serve purely because it is the Most High's command? Or how many work just to produce fruits? And most of the fruits are not even fruits. Since the Most High's work is eternal in nature, he demands man with faith to labor for him. It is difficult for human beings who live in time to perceive and to understand the work of the Most High. Well, do we need to understand the work of the Most High? Can we understand the work of the Most High? Shall we ever understand the work of the Most High? I don't think so. For it is replete with eternal character. How then can those who live by feeling ever join in the Most High's work, since nothing in it can please their feeling? Unless the death of the stake cuts penetratingly into the soul of a believer, so that he receives nothing for self. It is not about us again. It is not about our petty self. We need to kill that self. We need to slay that self. He cannot follow the Master in work except to a limited extent. Beyond that he is unable to go. The Master asks for men who are totally broken and who will follow him even to death to work for him. You see, we only are created to work for him. Who is him? The Most High. We're nothing more than a mere vessel with a name attached to it that is only doing the work of the Most High. Do you get this? You were never born to please yourself. You were never born to fulfill your false self, that stupid flesh self. You were not born for that. You were born to serve the Father, and that's it. To fulfill his will, needs and desires. We do not have any needs, because the needs of which we think is ours are not ours. These are laid in our heart by the Father himself. He is asking you to fulfill his needs. And by doing so, you get all the tools, and that is the illusion behind everything. And then you start to think that you get everything to please yourself and to please your pitiful life. And your so-called desires, which are not even your desires in the first place. And by fulfilling the Most High's will, needs and desires, you get everything from him to fulfill his will, his desires, his needs. Here on the earth. Well, not this earth, but the new to come earth. Because this earth goes into fire, shall never exist anymore, will be blown up. That is what your life is all about. That is the life you shall live in the kingdom. And there are so many people who fantasize about a so-called about a life in the kingdom, but people, you need to be real. The life in the kingdom turns all around and about the Most High, not you. You get your rewards, but these rewards are only there because you have done what He is asking you to do. That's the reward. But we interpreting this reward as, oh, look how rich I have become. Look what the Most High has given me, has made me completely rich. The kingdom life is all turning around one being. That is the Father who created us, the universal Father of this universe. And no one else, not our pitiful self. In battling the enemy, those who live by feeling are even more worthless in spiritual warfare, because to battle the enemy in prayer is truly self-denying work. What incalculable suffering is involved. This is something not many understand in spiritual warfare. Nothing for satisfying oneself can be found here. It is pouring out one's all for the body of Mashiach. How many people are doing this? Too less. And the kingdom of the Most High. You see, the kingdom is all about self-denial. There is no self in anything in the kingdom. Doesn't exist anymore. The only thing you live for is for the Most High and His body, what is now called the body of Mashiach, until we find out whom He is, because that truth is coming. And the Most High is already appointing people to expose that. Even kijken hoor. How unbearable must be this resisting and wrestling in spirit. We are in spiritual warfare as long as this is needed, until the moment all evil and darkness is completely gone. And all the players of it are completely gone. And when the head honcho is completely off stage, until that moment we are doing spiritual warfare. What pleasure is there for the spirit to be laden with indescribable burden for the sake of the Most High? Is it interesting to attack the evil spirit with every ounce of strength one can summon? This is a prayer warfare. But for whom is the believer praying? Not for himself surely, but for the work of the Most High. Such prayer is for warfare which is thoroughly lacking in interest one usually encounters during ordinary prayer. Most believers are running away from this topic, which is not handy to do, because if you run away for this topic, you do avoid this, you have become a sitting duck. Is there anything in this that can make him feel comfortable when he must travail in his soul and pray to destroy and to build? No element in spiritual warfare can gladden the flesh. We need to ignore the flesh. Unless, of course, one is contending merely in his imagination. An emotional believer is easily defeated in conflict with Satan. While he is praying to assault the enemy, the latter, by his evil spirit, will attack his emotion. He will set the believer to feeling that such contesting is painful and such prayer is lifeless. So as he becomes sorrowful, insipid, dark and dry, he immediately stops fighting. An emotional believer is powerless to war against Satan for as soon as his feeling comes under attack. Pain in my back. By Satan he quits the field of battle. If one's emotion has not experienced death, he may provide opportunity to Satan to strike at any hour. Each time he rises to oppose the enemy, he is defeated by a satanic touch upon his feeling. Can anyone expect victory over Satan unless he has first overcome his life of sensation? So, conclusion. You need to kill off your soul life, human naturalness, human strength, human will, which is the will of the flesh. And so you have to kill off your flesh, slaying it every day. I would almost say do and pretend as if you're not in the flesh. This flesh is nothing more than just of a great hindrance, because it's related and connected to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's why people have so much pride, angriness, hate, jealousy, and so on. Spiritual warfare accordingly demands an attitude of total death to feeling and an absolute trust in the Most High. Only a person with this attitude can bear up alone and not seek companions or man's approval in fighting the enemy. Only this caliber of believer can proceed under all sorts of anguished feelings. He cares not at all for his life nor about death, but only cares for the leading of the Most High. He indulges no personal interest, desire, and longing. He has offered himself to death already, and then lives exclusively for the Most High. He neither blames nor misunderstands him, because he considers all his ways to be loving. This is the class of person who is able to fill the breach, and we have no clue what love is, let alone what the love of the Most High is. We have a colored idea about love, and that idea is perverted. Though he may appear to be deserted by the Most High and forgotten by men, you better can be forgotten by men than by the Most High. Yet he mends his battle station. He is a prayer warrior. This is a terminology that many people are using, but I truly believe that there are not many real prayer warriors in this world. I think it's just a handful who truly can do such an incredible, strengthened, strong warfare prayers. There are not many who do this and whom are able to do such prayer. Many say to others, "Oh, you're a prayer warrior." Stop listening to man and just hear it and think and have something like, "No, I'm not until the Most High says me so." If the Most High says this to me, then I believe it. But if man says it to me, I don't believe it. And then he overcomes Shaitan. So the last part, rest. After a believer has thus been dealt with, he can commence the walk of faith, which is true spiritual life, and the one who arrives at this position enters up a life of rest. The fire of the stake has consumed his every greedy pursuit. He at last has learned his lesson. He recognizes that the Most High's will alone is precious. So again, what are we doing? Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, not ours. We live for doing His will, and if we need to die for His will, we die. That's simple. All else, and another thing, what you need to do is starting to hate the world you live in. And starting to hate the life you are living. Because people, the life you think you live is an utter illusion. With fake niceness, fake joy, fake pleasures. It's only based there to stimulate your solical life, your natural humanness, the will of your flesh. The flesh self. So, all else, though naturally desirable, is incompatible with the highest life of the Most High. Now he rejoices in relinquishing everything. Whatever the Master deems necessary to withdraw, he gladly allows his hand to do it. So let that allow. Say to the Most High, I am glad that you withdraw all these things of which you deem that needs to be withdrawn. And I'm glad you're doing so. The sighing, mourning, and grieving which arose out of his former anticipation, seeking, and struggling have today entirely disappeared. He realizes that the loftiest life is one lived for the Most High, and one obedient to His will. Though he has lost everything, yet is he satisfied with the fulfillment of the Most High's purpose. Though he is left with nothing to enjoy, yet he is humble under the ordering of the Most High. So, as long as the Master is pleased, he cares not the least what happens to him. He now has perfect rest, Nothing external can any longer stimulate him. This is something that has not been taught by many. Presently, the child of the Most High abides by a will which is united with the Master, his volition today filled with spiritual strength, is competent to control his emotion. His walk is steady, firm, restful. His former situation of ups and downs has vanished. Even so, we must not now rush to the conclusion that henceforth he shall never again be ruled by emotion, because you will. Because your life is nothing more than you being tested. This is an ongoing process. This is an eternal process. You will be forever tested, each and every single moment. That's what your life is. Nothing more. Every single moment of your eternal life, you get tests. For before we enter heaven itself, such sinless perfection is not possible. All right. When a believer has experienced the practical treatment of the stake, he finally arrives at a pure life. All is for the Most High and in the Most High, and the Most High is in all as well. This is your life, people. This is what your eternal life is all about. It's not about shopping, stupid sports games, going out of dinner, and so on. This is your life. Now, and if you choose to go for eternal, it will be for eternally. This is the life that each and every messenger in heaven is leading and living, This is how they live. This is the life each and every messenger is living in heaven. There's no self in them. It's completely and only lived for the Most High and the Most High only. And I'm harsh at this moment because this needs to be said. Detach yourselves from that stupid world and place yourselves in sackcloth and deny every single thing that has to do with your soul life, your natural humanness, your natural strength. And deny every single thing that the world tries to lure you in. Alright, I proceed. Nothing is unto self, even the tiniest desire for pleasing oneself is crucified. You hear this? There is no self for you. Self-love has been consigned to death. So now you understand why the New Age and religion is preaching the slogan of Lucifer, not Satan, but Lucifer, do as thou wilt. Now you understand why this whole perverted world is based on self, self-love, selfie. It leads you to death, people. So self-love has been consigned to death, doesn't exist anymore. The present aim of existence becomes single, to do the will of the Most High 24/7 a day. 24/7 a day. You are in service to the Most High. No one else, not even an earthly boss. So long as he is pleased, unless that earthly boss is also working for the Most High, that's something else. So long as he is pleased, nothing else really counts. So, who gives you the pleasure? From who comes this pleasing? The Most High. Who is giving this feeling of the idea, better said, of satisfaction? The Most High. Because you've experienced his satisfaction, not yours. He is pleased, nothing else really counts. To obey him becomes the sole objective of life. It does not matter it does not matter how he feels. What matters is obeying the Most High. This is a pure walk. This takes years to come to that point. If you truly think that Yeshua had this done in just a few years, I can tell you, no. His path was thousands of years for finally getting to a point in which the Most High could ask him to do what he needed to do here on earth. We are just at the beginning. Although the Most High affords him peace, comfort and bliss, he does not enjoy them for the sake of gratifying his desire. You see that? We do not have any desires. There is no our desire. The so-called desires that we call desires that we have are nothing more than things coming from the flesh. He from now on views everything with the eye of the Most High. His soulish life has been terminated. And the Master has granted him a pure, restful, true and believing spiritual life. While it is the Most High who does destroy him, it equally is the Most High himself who builds him up. This is a process just a few believers can go through. That is why Yeshua said, many are called, but a few will succeed. Because the majority of believers are not able to go through such a path. That is why you have three paths: the broad path, the narrow path, and the path that is more narrow than the narrow path itself is. That is the narrowest of the narrowest path. And not many can and be able to walk that path. And we can know this because he only needed 8 persons to rebuild a new human population again. There were just 8 people left. So this should be a warning for you. Do you truly think that the Most High needs millions of people to succeed his plan? No. He only picked out 8 people. And the Master has granted him a pure, restful, true and believing spiritual life. While it is the Most High who does destroy him, it equally is also the Most High who builds him up. That which is soulish has been destroyed completely, but that which is spiritual has been established. So that is what life in accordance with the Most High is. And it's up to you if you truly want to live like that. Knowing that everything you had and thought was yours, you will lose it. And everything you think that you need to cling on, you will lose it. The life that you think is life, you will completely lose it. And there are many that I see on the social platforms that are yelling all over the place. But I'm truly asking the question, how many of them are truly willing to give up themselves? Because that is what is asked from you people, to give yourselves completely up. Everything. The will of your flesh, your soul life, everything. Are you willing to give that up? Are you willing when the Most High says, I want you to go pack your bag and just go. Take your tent with you and I will decide how long you will be gone from your so-called home. Are you willing to do so and, not knowing where you are going? And he also says then, leave the phone at home. No phone. You're allowed to have your bank card with you because, okay, it can be handy to buy some food. But the phone you leave at home. Not knowing where to go. You just do. And maybe he brings you into the woods for a period. Without nothing. Not even a shop nearby. And that he is guiding you what to eat from the woods. Are you willing to then go through the things that you need to go through? Are you willing to truly let go of everything of which you thought is life? Do we truly know what life is? Do we truly know what living life is? As the Most High has in mind for us? Are you truly realizing if you are going to truly give yourselves to the Most High, that it will be a life as the disciples lived? Do you truly understand that the life in the kingdom is not about you and shall never be about you? But it's all about the Most High, His will, His desires, His needs, and we are there only to fulfill that, and that alone. There's nothing of us in it. And that is why many are staying stuck in the Sunday circuses, because it is their utter comfort. In the meanwhile they are complaining because the Sunday circus is becoming more empty. But they are not willing to give up everything. They are not willing to give up their luxurious life, because many believers that come in the Sunday circuses have a quite good, so-called good life. Good in the sense of human standard. Natural human standard. They stay stuck in their Sunday circus rituals, afraid to come out of their false comfort and to let go of everything and to lose everything. And then they say, oh, we have it so good. Yeah, because Shaitan also knows how to fool you with his so-called goodness, so that you keep doing what he wants you to do. And he gives you also treats and presents and gifts. And then it looks as if the Most High is so good for you. Not everything comes from the Most High in your life. You need to ask the things you get if it's truly from the Most High or if it's from the adversary. So we need to be independent. And we need to, better said, we need to have ourselves completely dependent on only the Father and the Father only. That's it. And no one else. No fellow brother, no fellow sister. Only on the Most High. What the Master had withdrawn before, he now can properly enjoy in him. The reason why the Most High at the beginning had led him through many sorrows was because his soul life lay behind everything, seeking and asking too much for himself, desiring even things which were outside the will of the Most High. Such independent action had to be circumscribed by the Most High. Now that he has lost himself, the believer, that is his natural life. Are you willing to lose your entire natural life? The believer is in a position to enjoy the bliss of the Most High within its legitimate boundary. Not till today was he qualified to be rightly related to his joy. Hereafter he can thankfully accept whatever is given him. Because the eagerness to secure something for self has already been put to naught, he does not petition inordinately for that which was not bestowed upon him. As such a child of the Most High has advanced unto a pure ground. Where there is a mixture, there is impurity. The book of scriptures views impurity as something defiled. Before one reaches this ground of no mixture, he cannot express a pure walk. He lives for the Most High, yet also lives for self. He loves the Master, but loves himself as well. So this self-love needs to be destroyed. His intention is only unto the Most High, yet simultaneously he aims at self-glory, self-pleasure, self-comfort. Such a life is a defiled one. He walks by faith but also walks by feeling. He follows the spirit but also follows his soul. While he does not in fact reserve the larger portion for himself, nonetheless this smaller portion held back is suffering to render his life impure. Only what is pure is clean. Anything mixed with foreign matter becomes defiled. All right. Before we enter heaven itself, such sinless perfection is not possible. Nonetheless, in comparing his present state with his former condition, this one can indeed be described as experience rest, being established and continuing firm. He suffers no further from that incessant confusion he encountered heretofore, though occasionally he may still be disturbed by the operation of his emotion. That is why watchful prayer continues to be indispensable. Let us therefore hasten to add, do not misunderstand what has been said to mean that from here on there shall be no possibility of feeling either joy or sorrow. As long as our organ for emotion is not annihilated, our feelings shall continue to exist. We still can sense pain, blackness, aridity, and sorrow. Yet those sufferings can penetrate our outer man only, leaving our inner man untouched. Due to the clear division between spirit and soul, outwardly our soul may be disturbed and consequently suffer, but inwardly our spirit remains calm and composed, as though nothing had happened. All right, this is the last for today. Thank you so much for listening, and let all these all these words of wisdom sink into your mind, into your spirit, into your soul. If you do not truly understand what is being said here or passed on to you as information, ask the Most High Himself, not me, the Most High Himself. He is the source of all knowing, not me. So thank you so much. I wish you all a baruched, very baruched day, and that the sun also will shine at your place as it is here. And thank you for doing a little donation. Know that the kingdom of the Most High is thriving on giving, and so if you do a little donation, you give actually to the kingdom of the Most High. So thank you so much for that, and I see you next time. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Yahuwah, hallelujah, Yahuwah, hallelujah, Yahuwah.